All right, so before we start, let's open up a new query tab. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the new query button. Again, a shortcut is Control N. So you click on new query. Always remember, be sure to check which database server you're connected to. If you're at work or on a school project, you might be on a production server, right? So always double check that, hey, this is the right server I'm on and I'm connected to the right DB, the database, right? So at the bottom right of your screen, just make sure you're connected to the right server and the right database and the right login, of course. Okay, so let me zoom in here. All right. Now, a stored procedure, you could think of it as similar to what we ran earlier, all the queries we ran, but we may want to group some of those queries together, have it contained within a, think of it as a modular function, right? Like we can rerun multiple times, all right? Again, we can have multiple statements, multiple select statements within a stored procedure. A stored procedure can accept input from clients, right? It can also return multiple values to the user, multiple rows or result sets, okay? Just like you did in your earlier queries that we worked on together. Again, also, it's very secure. You see, we can create a stored procedure. Your database administrators can assign different rights to or roles to different users to be able to run or execute those stored procedures, okay? Now, let's create a simple stored procedure that takes no inputs, but just gets me all the customers in the database. All right. Now that you're familiar with, running queries, again, I remind you to practice all the queries we went through in the first couple sections of the course. Okay. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a statement or create a stored procedure using built-in keywords. So we can say create procedure. Now again, these are reserved keywords. So we'll call it get customers. Okay, and this guy takes no input. Okay, so we can just say as. And now we can write a begin end statement. Okay, very simple. Here what I'm going to do is say select star from customer. Okay, so select star from customer. All right. All this does, you can actually execute it on the fly. Remember, you can highlight your query and click on execute. It just gets me all the customers that are contained in the customer table. All right, that was our customer table here on the left. All right, so this is a procedure. Notice it takes no inputs. It just gets me a report of all the customers in my database. Okay, now I can highlight the whole statement here and click on execute. Now remember, this one is going to create the stored procedure. So if I click on execute, it created the stored procedure. Now, very simple to execute that stored procedure. Okay, so I can say execute and the name of the procedure, get customers. Notice it shows up. And again, takes no arguments, so I can highlight it as is, click on execute, and boom, I got all my customers. All right, pretty simple. Now, you don't have to keep rewriting the select star from customer over and over. You can just call and execute get customers. Now, I'm going to show you in upcoming videos related to what analysts use. We want to be able to maybe tie in Microsoft Excel or some third-party application and have the ability to generate a report, say, of all the customers, right? So we can just maybe through that third-party application like Excel, make a call and say, hey, execute get customers. And this will show up in Excel. So I'll show you how to do that. But first, just remember, a few pointers regarding stored procedures. Notice we already created a stored procedure. So if you were to go to the programmability folder, so remember we have tables, views, I'll get to all these eventually, all right? But programmability, if you expand stored procedures, you might be surprised to not see the new one we just created. However, if you right click on stored procedures, you can click on refresh and there's get customers. If you expand the little plus sign, you're going to see all the parameters that it expects as an input. Okay. Notice it says no parameters, but it returns an integer. Okay. By default, if I were to run execute get customers, okay, notice that 59 rows are affected, meaning it just selected all this data. Okay. All right. Now you can always return some value within this stored procedure. For example, I can say return 1 or 2 or 3 if I wanted to. Okay. Now, before I get to return statements and inputs, again, your store procedures will be in the store procedures folder, and you'll have get customers available. Okay. Now, we executed that from within the SQL query window. You can also right-click the procedure and click on execute. It'll pop open a window here. If you're doing some testing on maybe your report you're generating, you want to be able to execute and test it. So 2 ways. Again, you can run it from a statement here, execute. Remember, this turns blue. Exec is a reserved keyword. Or you can right-click the proc. We call it for short store proc or proc. Okay. You can right-click and say execute. So notice it takes no inputs, and I'm going to click on OK, and it opens a new query window. All right. At the top it says, hey, use media store DB because that's where my store procedure is. And then notice by default it returns an integer, which is 0. Okay. We don't have to worry about that yet. We just want to be able to get our data, right, for our report. So here, notice the statement. It auto-generated execute get customers. Okay. So it got me all the customers in my database. So you've created your first stored procedure. Now, quick pointer. If you try to run the create procedure again, it's going to fail. It's going to say there's already an object named get customers in the database. So it knows it's already there. So you might be thinking, how would I change it? All right. So maybe I want to do top 10 customers, right? So if I change this, you don't use create. You can add a or here. If you're using the latest SQL Server, you can say create or alter procedure. So behind the scenes, it actually does a check for you. It says, hey, does this procedure already exist? If so, go ahead and alter it. So again, if I create and run this, looks like nothing happened, but behind the scenes, if you refresh this store procedure and click on execute again, notice I only get top 10 results. Okay. Now, one last pointer. Once you've created a stored procedure, you can always modify it. Let's say you had all your windows closed. I'm going to close all these windows here, close all the documents. I'm not going to save anything. Let's say you're coming back. Hey, I want to alter or modify this stored procedure. You can right-click, click on modify, and notice it automatically generates the alter statement for you. And we could change it back to select star from customer. And you can just run this entire script. You can either highlight it or just run it as is. Okay. Now if I hit right-click the proc and modify again, notice it updated my proc to select star instead of select top 10.